In this demo, we're going to show how we can connect to the database and query all of the employees by last name and just list them out on the console. And as we go through it, we'll just kind of explain what it's doing, and then on another video we'll explain more detail how it's all set up. But I went ahead and created a demo package in our source code, and then the first one in here is this database demo. And basically what we want to do as little as possible to go ahead and load all these employees by last name. So as an overview, we're going to open our data source, explain all this here in a minute. From there, from the data source, we can then go get the JDBC data source that it creates. Then we can use it to actually do a select with our where clause and our how we want it sorted. That will return us back an iterator, and with that iterator we can basically loop through it asking for the next employee object, and then we're going to print that out. So we'll run that first, and one of the things about running it is that we need to make sure that it can access the database, because the data source object is expecting the database to be in a certain place, and it's relative to the runtime. So go to the arguments, to workspace, and then what I'm going to do is select a runtime server, because under this is where my database is, so this is where I'm going to run it from. Apply. Go ahead and close this, and I'm going to set the debugger up so we can see this running. So database demo. So we're there at this line. This the database object or data source object is generated by OA Builder, and it has all of the mapping built into it. So if we looked at that object, it's all generated, so we don't manually have to do any coding or anything in there, and that will automatically build out the mapping and stuff. Call that. That also connects to the database and creates a JDBC data source. Sure we got everything going here. Okay. So that started. Once or within the data source, when it creates the JDBC data source, that will register itself, and there's a base class called OA data source. So I can call that anytime to get a list of all the data sources, or if I want it to, I can get directly from this object, but this is just a way to kind of show how this works. So whenever a data source is created, like again a JDBC for this database, it will register itself with the overall data source static method, so that we can go ahead and get it from anywhere. And that allows for multiple data sources for different databases, different data sources to be registered in a running application, and each one of them knows which objects that it works with, what classes of objects and stuff like that. So that's how they can all kind of work together. So from here I can go ahead and get to the actual JDBC data source just so we can see that. And then what we're going to do is call the select on it. This select is based on the OA data source. OA data source is an interface definition that defines what a data source is. And so our JDBC data source basically uses JDBC to allow us to be able to connect and work directly with our objects. So in this case we're going to say select all of objects of type employee class. Here's the criteria, and there's the sort order, and we want that to return back an iterator. So what's going on internally is that we'll go ahead and, again, since it's JDBC, it's going to get a result set and or get a statement from the statement, get a result set, and then return back an iterator. Now for that iterator, every time we call next, it's basically based on a result set calling all that, and we'll look at that code in another session. So we call has next, and then what it's doing is actually doing the initial querying. Now that it has that, we can see over in our debugger under employee, we can see how it got loaded up. So basically what just happened there, I'll go ahead and show the console. So we see the first one that shows up, Brian Jones. And again, we're selecting all of them with last name equal Jones by last name first name. as it goes through, it just would list them all. That's it. Program's done.